Welcome to another episode of Empowering Empaths. Today we're going to share about finding your voice. Empaths are so good in taking in the energy, and sometimes they can't express themselves or have a harder time finding a way how best to express themselves, that it's what they want to share. It's in their energy, maybe gentle, empathetic, and soft. So I had often that when someone shouted at me, I was sort of closed down, and I needed that break. Now I learned to say, just let me integrate that. I have to think about that, or I have to just digest that. Give me a break. And then I needed time out to then express myself, because it was sort of like doors were closing down. So this is me, Caroline Palmy, from the center of Europe, from the heart of Europe, Switzerland, and on the other side of the Atlantic towards the Pacific.
I'm on the Pacific coast.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm Tina Skerik. I'm on the Pacific coast. You better believe it, the Pacific Northwest right now. And I know exactly what you're talking about, Caroline. When you're an empath, and just by the nature of being an empath, I always had an aversion to conflict. So, when you are in a situation and someone comes at you verbally, or they do an action or something, but in the moment you don't respond, but then you get in the car or you go home and you're like, oh, I should have said, oh, I wish I said, oh, I wish I stood up for myself. I was doing that for years. And as I learned, I'm really giving away my power here as an empath, right? And as I learned and went down the path of energy healing and working with my angels and really harnessing the true knowing of my divinity and my connection to source, to creator, then I'm worth standing up for. And I need to stand up for me. And that's how I found my voice. And to say, I won't say my age. I will, I'm 48.
I'm 52.
Yeah. Well, we're holding up. And the older I get, I still struggle with it sometimes. Things do happen. And as an empath, what ends up happening for me, I have a physical reaction. So if I'm in a situation, I need to find my voice to stand up for myself or to express myself even. I right away, I get tight, I get scared, and I start to feel, like my heart's pounding and my stomach gets really tight. And then I really have to take a few breaths, and kind of catch myself. And slowly now I'm recognizing, okay, I need to first of all in these moments, I have to get a hold of the physical reaction that I'm having. So a few deep breaths. And even in the moment, Caroline, I will do a grounding exercise. I will very quickly imagine I'm wearing lava boots, nice heavy boots anchoring me to the earth. Imagine that underneath those lava boots, I've got cords that are just going deep, deep, deep into Mother Gaia and connecting me to the core. And just that few seconds of doing that brings me right down. And then I can think clearly, okay, am I going to respond and say something? What am I going to do here? Right? So the initial thing for me to get my power back and to empower myself is to quiet the freak out that I'm having, the physical reaction that I'm having to whether it's a conflict that's already happening, or I know if I'm going to speak up, that person's going to react. So it's also about knowing, well, as long as I come from a place of compassion and kindness and love, how they react.
Mm-hmm. It is. And I learned years ago, actually, when I worked for a bank, we had sort of a course there. And the good thing was speaking in I messages. So if someone comes and says something, and then I can sort of go reflect and say, so I understood you said so and so. Is that correct? So you can sort of go back and see, because sometimes we react to something we meant they said, but they didn't even mean it that way. It was just the way it came over. Or then sometimes, so, oh, when you say this, it makes me feel hurt or sad. And then we don't say, you make me sad, but we say, I feel sad when I hear this, or things like this. So that was something really good for me, to sort of always not reacting immediately, but sort of going over and stay sort of in a calmer energy. And that takes sometimes also the blow out from someone that comes on very forcibly.
Absolutely, it does.
And I think that's really empowering, when you can say, oh, I understood this, and then it breaks the ice.
Absolutely.
And I just remembered when you said that, I was the first time I was going to be interviewed on live radio. And, you know, with all the technical things, and you have to tune in and everything, I was quite nervous. And excuse me, we are really, really finding our voice here. And I was driving the kids to school, and I was really tuning in and say, okay, Archangel Gabriel, for me, it's for speaking and creativity.
Yeah,
Archangel Gabriel,
me
please
too.
help me. And I was so nervous, and then driving off. And then I saw a moving van, and it says Gabriel on top. I said, so thank you for the sign. Thank you so much.
Is that just, Caroline, you can't make that up. That is.
And I came to the interview, and it was so gorgeous. It was so extra special. I so reached out to the audience. It was, wow. Yeah. And like you, I do the grounding. I remember I was in Birmingham 2 years ago at the Mind, Body and Soul Festival, and I was on stage. And of course, I already love to share from the heart. And I think when it comes from the heart, it's just extra special. And so I always tap on my heart space and take in a deep breath. And then I'm connected inwards, because when I'm nervous or out there in fear, then we're out here. But if we're just coming back to our body, within our inner calm, then we also come back to our own voice, you know, because when we are so nervous, we have a complete different tone. But when this is me, and I love sharing. And so, like you, also grounding is good, you know, brings us down, and I love that. So,
and you know, I'm glad you brought that up. Absolutely. When we're in that panic mode, you're absolutely right. We can't, to me, it just becomes white noise. And then I don't even know what I'm going to say. And then as an empath, I don't want to go into the conflict. I'm just not interested. Every fiber of my being wants to run the other way, you know, and which brings me to people pleasing. Okay, yes, okay. Well, part of being an empowered empath is calling your power back. And we don't have to be people pleasers, right? So we can find our voice, express what our truth and what serves us, you know, and that's not selfish to do that. That is not selfish. Like I said before, if we're coming from a place of love and a place of compassion and understanding for where the other person is coming from, we are more than allowed to speak our truth and set boundaries that protect us from being hurt, right? And I know for me, and I know for me, a big one too, Caroline, is calling on Archangel Gabriel. Absolutely. When I know I need to express myself, really working with my sacral chakra, that's, you know, an Archangel Gabriel. And sometimes really quickly in the moment when, you know, because when you can step back and plan, like if you know, for example, you were going on the radio and you needed help finding your voice and expressing yourself, or you know you're going to go to that family dinner and that person that always kind of is going to be there, you know, you can take a moment to process what they're going to say and have an exit strategy already planned. Like decide, okay, look, if this person decides this, I'm going to just remove myself, I'm not going to bite, or this is what I'm going to say. And you can practice and ground yourself before, even bring like a crystal to remind you, maybe like a blue crystal to remind you to use your throat chakra, and Archangel Michael to give you strength and courage and shielding, and before you go into the situation, all these things. But sometimes when you're just in the thick of it and the person comes at you and I found over the years, responding in the moment, like take that moment, catch my breath, and then speak up, has empowered me. And I've gotten better and better and better at it as I've gone along. It's not to say that I still don't have moments where it gets me. I walk away and I go.
It is. It's we are humans, and we are here to experience it all, and what really helps me, I mean, I'm a recovering doormat, I tried to please my ex for years.
Caroline, that's a good one.
I completely lost sense of who I am.
Yeah.
And I learned to say no, and but no to others and yes to myself. And that's the important thing.
I like that. No to others, yes to myself.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it was Louise Hay that once said, if you say yes to someone else, just make sure you're not saying no to yourself. And when you see that, it becomes so much easier to say, oh, no, not today. I just need to recharge or whatever. And saying yes to oneself. And the more we learn to say yes to ourselves, that's how we empower ourselves too.
And you know what, Caroline? Saying no to something without having to give them a PhD thesis of excuses as to why I'm saying no. Because I did that for years. Good old
exactly. No is a full sentence.
No is a full sentence. That took me forever to get to. Oh, but what if I say no and then they don't like me? Oh, what if I say no and well.
And you have to have an excuse for saying no, but just saying, oh no.
Yeah.
And they understand.
Years to get there. And I will always say, Caroline, I still mess that up sometimes. I mean, I do. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, I got it right all the time. No, I don't.
And we're not meant to, and then there are people that are closer to us and then we say no and give a reason why, because they understand us, and don't take it personal. And then there are people then come and push, but you could, then blah, 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 blah. And then it's just no, full stop.
No, full stop, right? Which I was going to mention too, and you just took us there, is surrounding yourself with people who respect and appreciate who you are. You don't have to convince them of your worth, right? So when you say no, it's just respected. It's understood, it's respected. Or when you're expressing yourself, you don't have to convince everybody to what you're arguing about or discussing.
Exactly.
But for me, really, the empowering part about speaking my truth and finding my voice, Caroline, was knowing my worth and knowing that as an expression of the divine, I'm worthy and I deserve to be stood up for. And the best person to do that is me.
Yeah, and the only person. That's the thing, But self-worth is maybe a topic for another episode.
Absolutely
in itself, because that's I think many empaths struggle. But it's finding your voice. It's not just about speaking. It can be expressing yourself. Maybe you're a dormant artist. You always wanted to draw a picture or something, and you can express
you're a published
yourself.
Writer. I mean, you're a full-on published. I mean, so Caroline, you found your voice.
I love writing, and that's really sometimes so much easier because paper is very patient and it's not face to face, so you can really express. It is
that's
and
beautiful,
you can
Caroline.
And then you can be in your own space, and then you can just write it all out. I remember I had a boyfriend, sort of a long distance relationship that wasn't really a relationship from his point of view, but it's okay. It's an experience. But And he asked me something in that moment. Why don't you say what you like? And I felt sort of, I was still in that. And then I came home, and then I wrote it all out. And I sent it to him, and he said, oh, he never saw something so beautiful. And I can express myself better through the written word. It's sort of, that's also how I channel messages. I do email readings, so I can just type it out. It goes sort of from here through me into my fingers, and then I just type it out. And my books, it was just sort of like download and just all to paper. And it's really great. It's not, it sort of circumvents my brain, it's just like coming out. And speaking on stage or in public or now with you is good. But like you said, when it's that full-on confrontation, it's sort of like, still, sometimes it's sort of like, so it's also good. It's good to take a step back. We don't always have to react directly. We can say, give me time, I need to process. And that's what I sometimes, we all had teenagers, and my youngest is now 18, and the last couple of years have been a bit challenging. And so when he then came full on with an answer or something, but you have to know and you have to say yes. So give me time to process. I love you, but I just need time to process. I come back to you. And this is all that they need. And they respect that. And people that really care about you respect that. We don't always have to give them an answer. And if people pressure us to give them directly an answer, then it's not the right people. We can always sleep over something,
You bet you can.
And that's something I think very empowering too. We don't have to react on the spur of the moment, but we go within and say, is that truly right? And we feel into it and let the guidance come. And then next morning, and then maybe also they're all a bit more clear-headed and calmed down, especially if it's sort of a confrontational kind of thing.
Absolutely. If it's confrontational, but sometimes you're just at, like, for example, like the checkout counter or something, right? And it took me a long time to if in a restaurant, if you order something, it's the wrong thing. For the longest time, I wouldn't speak up. I would just say, oh, it's okay, I'll eat it anyways. Wait a minute. It was just a mistake. It's okay to say, oh, I'm sorry, I do you mind I ordered whatever? Like, it's okay if I'm not being rude to the person, and it's just I guess it was giving myself permission, Caroline, giving myself permission to say, wait a minute, I'm allowed to get what I've asked for.
Exactly.
Right.
And because you were looking forward to that food, and something else comes, and then
but why would I do that for years or never I was going to say never complain, but for years as a people pleaser, I wouldn't. So even if I was out somewhere and the service is really horrible, I would just accept it. Well, wait a minute. I don't need to give my power away like that, right? I can be kind and assertive at the same time, right?
It is. And I think it's also when someone asks you for, was that really good? If a friend tries out a new recipe and you feel maybe a little bit more salt or something, why not say that? Because she's really asking for your opinion and your feedback and your honest feedback. So if you try to be too nice or people pleasy, then you don't give your friend an honest feedback. She really asks from you. And I think it's the same in the restaurant, or if you fill out the form or how the food was or whatever. It's our, and we can also say, in my opinion.
Oh, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
It's not like it's the truth, but it's just in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
my
yeah,
opinion. That's
yeah,
all. It's not like,
yeah,
and when we say
yeah,
it this way, with love and compassion and
yeah. And
honesty.
not blame. It's not about, it's
Yeah.
that was the hard, and I that is the hard part, is finding my voice and setting up boundaries and expressing my opinion and doing all these things without judgment. Just, it doesn't matter what the other person is doing or their motives or why they're doing it. Unfortunately, as an empath, those, I mean, you can feel the motives. Oftentimes, the person is either coming from a wounding, you can feel that, or you can feel, oh, they're being a little bit malicious. And those are the ones that are harder for me. When I know the person is being unkind on purpose or confrontational, that's when my heart really starts beating, and I have a really, that's where I start to really panic. And then in those moments, I really just want to avoid the confrontation. So it really is, as an empowered empath, is really quickly in those moments, okay, the deep breaths, grounding quickly, take a beat, and then I can either say, I don't want to have this conversation, or remove myself, or take the beat, ask Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel really quickly, and speak up. And in those times, I have found more recently in my later years now, I can do that. And I can do that without going to anger. I can do that without, sometimes it still happens. My voice is nervous. I can feel it, but it's more in control, and it's more about, wait a minute, I'm worthy. I deserve to be protected and spoken up for, and I'm going to do that for me. And that is so empowering. I mean,
It
that's
is. It
truly for
is.
me, Caroline, that's what it is.
Yeah, standing up for oneself. That's just like, or just saying, oh, no, I don't want to be treated like this. Sorry.
Yeah. Or wholly expressing yourself, like when you wrote your books, you wholly expressed yourself without fear of condemnation, without fear.
And I just, the funny story is when I written my first book and it was all together and it was sort of like go to be published, I thought sort of,
Yeah.
oh no, I've done it. I've written a book. It doesn't have to go out there, sort of.
Yes, it does.
And then, of course,
Really?
I had to work through that and say, good, of course, I was afraid of being judged or, but then I truly birthed that book. Yes.
Didn't you find with each step, like I know for me, just every step of divinity heart healing, and every time I really found my calling and my higher purpose, there was always that fear of, ooh, okay, I'm going to launch divinity heart healing. I'm going to call myself, a soul coach, an energy healer. I'm going to own and really express who I am. And truly, for the first time, I feel it, right? I mean, I know who I am. And I do know that there are people that they're really, it might make them look,
I
people in
know.
my life, right? People in my immediate life and family who are probably going, okay. But then I've had others who've come back and have been like, oh, I knew it all along. I knew this is you. You, even as a little kid, this was you, right? So
it's
I
gorgeous.
guess
I love that.
that's the empowerment right there, right? Okay, so that's it right there, Caroline, right? That's it. We just embrace and love ourselves and stand in that, and that's where it feels just amazing, right?
Yeah, and we became the person we were always meant to be.
Oh, amen.
With detours, sort of trying to be something else, and then finally.
So many detours. Oh, so I can think back on the jobs I did, where I was just in the wrong position. And I was trying to personify and embody the spirit of that what that job required me to be. And interestingly enough, they were often where I was being called to speak up and to really be authoritative. And as an empath, oh, it was so horrible.
But we're so good at adapting. We can,
Mhm.
you know, and so I think we have a harder time
Yeah.
truly finding ourselves, you
Yeah.
know, or becoming
Yeah.
truer to ourselves, because we're from probably little girl on at school, we try to fit in, never stick out, and
Yeah.
be like the others, and
But
we
that
have so
takes
much
such
to do with
a mental and
overwhelm.
physical. Yes, that's it exactly. The overwhelm, right? The physical and mental toll that takes. And then the overwhelm hits and it's just, right?
It
Been
is.
there,
It
done
is.
that so many times. Absolutely. Oh, Caroline,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we got the chance to talk today about this.
Yeah,
This is,
it is. Yeah.
yeah.
I've just expressing yourself, finding
Mhm.
your voice, or your, what you call it, accelerant, where you can sort of,
Yeah.
you know, be truly yourself.
Yes.
And especially if you have a hard time speaking, try writing, or
Art,
drawing, or
music,
music, or
whatever. Yeah.
dancing, or singing it out, or any form of expression brings you closer to your truth and
Yeah.
to what you love to speak up. And
Yeah.
we never have to, in a highly flammable surrounding, we don't have to stand up and speak our truth. We can really select the
You bet.
times, you know, and
Yep, you
train
bet.
ourselves with kinder people, or people that are truly listening to us and get
Mhm.
us, you know. That's a good training ground to then take up to the next step.
I like that. You're absolutely right, Caroline. You don't have to express if it's the wrong crowd, like know your crowd. If it's not going to work and it's not going to happen, pump your brakes, right? Know
It's not
yourself.
worth the energy.
No,
That's it, you
no,
know.
that's exactly it. And, you know, I liked what you said too, is we maybe perhaps, you know, one of the first steps, I know for me, after years of just being a people pleaser and not knowing who I was, I mean, I didn't even know, I had forgotten what my favorite color was. I had forgotten what it was I even liked doing, because I was always so doing what other people wanted me to do. Oh, do you want to go do this today? Sure. Okay. I didn't really want to, but I would go along. So the first step for me over a decade ago was to stop and say, what do I like doing again? What do I like reading? What do I like watching? What brings me joy? You know, and that was tapping back into the inner child. What did Tina enjoy doing when she was little? That freedom. What was it that brought me such joy when I was young? I had to go and go really within and tap back into that and really start at that point again and remember, oh, I do have a favorite color. I do.
Yeah, me too. You know, after
Yeah.
my marriage ended, and I was just 40, not even 40, and I was 20 years with that man, and I had no idea what I
Yeah.
liked, not the music,
Yeah.
whatever. And then I had to go back, bring that time as a
Yeah.
teenager. What kind of music did I listen to as a teenager? What kind of posters, paintings did I like? And yeah, me reconnecting with that part,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's also with people who lack joy, or reconnecting to the playfulness, going back to your childhood. You know, often I see my clients on a swing, just swinging on the swing, and just observing the clouds and things like these that bring us back to who we truly are.
Who we truly are, which connects us right back to divinity. And once we know that, right, it's so much easier to speak your truth because you know.
Yeah. And you and I, we probably help our clients to connect to that for a little bit, so they can expand it and get that feeling and that memory coming back, you know. And that's so beautiful. Yeah,
it really is. It really, really is. Wow,
and
beautiful.
that's how we found our voice too, I think, through channeling and yeah, sharing our gift. And
Oh, absolutely it was.
Mhm,
Absolutely it was.
mhm.
Yeah, once I knew who I was, and I think I mentioned this in the first one, it was almost like Mission Impossible, like this is your mission. Do you choose to accept it? And I had a moment of hesitation, but then as I was, really getting to know myself and really working with my angels, and I realized, yeah, I choose to accept it. I'll go there. You bet I will. Right?
Yeah, because it's a gorgeous path and it's
Oh
meant
yeah.
for us. And then when you truly decide on your soul's path, it's sort of like all the winding roads all of a sudden lead to an opening and
Yeah.
straight, clear path
Yeah.
ahead. Mostly.
I was,
So
but I can navigate. Here's the trick to that too, is Caroline, I can navigate those curves so much better now. Right. And I can now look at the future and say, okay, well, like, for example, right now, my husband and I, we're trying to decide, where do we want to live really? What do we want to do? Right. We've kind of been between two countries. We're trying to decide where we want to go, where our kids are at, but what really brings us joy. And in this discussion, if we were having this discussion, 20 years ago, I would have just deferred, well, where do you want to go, honey? And I'll just go. Well, now I'm more expressing myself and truly saying, well, I don't really like the vibe of that. That doesn't feel right. And even a decade ago, just to say, I don't know, it doesn't feel right, I would have felt like I could never have said that, because how do you explain to someone? But as an empath, I know, like even just looking at a picture of a town, I'm like, well, I'm not going there. And now he's really good about saying, so back to surrounding yourself with people who respect you. He's fine when I say, just doesn't feel good. And he's like, okay, take that off the list.
Which is great, because for so long during my married year, I thought it just doesn't feel right. And he goes, yeah, you again, not good.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no logical sense for that. I thought, yeah. But that's the beauty when we empower ourselves, and then we're an equal partner. It's looking for a home as a family is a family business. It's not just someone's business to decide and then everybody just
drag you along.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So we're kind of, that's putting the empowered in the empath, right? Not being afraid to speak up and accepting that sometimes you will speak up, you will speak your truth, you'll do all the things, you'll ground yourself, you'll call in those angels, you will take a moment, it's a family dinner, you remove yourself, go to the bathroom, do some breathing exercises, regroup, plan what you're going to say when you go back out there, and it'll still go crazy. And that's, maybe it's meant to clear something else. Maybe as long as you're centered and you're coming from that place of, I always just say love and compassion, then the rest of it, that's just for whatever reason, it's meant to go that way. And it will, maybe it's to clear something else. Maybe it's to move you in a different direction. We don't,
Yeah. And that's good. It's life. It's just, we can set the best intentions, and life has a different idea, and that's okay too. And as long as it doesn't stop us from speaking our truth with love and compassion and standing up for ourselves and keep going our path, then all is well. That's all.
Because when I do work with the angels, and I'm sure you do the same thing, right? I always say for the highest and best good, or for something better. So, okay, well, maybe it is for my highest and best good that this person is kind of going to remove themselves from my life. Maybe. And I got to be okay with that because I called it in, right?
It is. It is.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for listening to this latest episode, and we will be back soon, probably maybe about healthy boundaries. Shall we do that for next episode?
I think absolutely.
That's a good
healthy
topic.
Boundaries is a good one.
So it's evening here in Switzerland, and it's sort of midday where Tina
Midday
is.
for me here.
So
Yeah. Thank you, Caroline.
thank you
Thanks, everybody.
so much.
Bye.